Refresh Facebook.
Live. We are live. Oh, it's always better to be live than the
Did you guys not get the memo?
I've got on yellow today, so
Black alert. Black alert.
actually I have on blue and yellow. It's like I got the memo and it said don't wear the red shirt. So there you go.
Hey, I can't. It's not working. My batteries must have died.
All right, where's our broadcast? I'm not seeing it on Facebook.
I
Videos.
programmed it. I put it in for all the things.
Videos. We've got 2 viewers.
So that's good.
Clearly, it's not all 3 of us yet.
So listener Diane understands the double meaning of the episode title.
Yeah.
It's a Disney thing as well.
Oh,
yeah, I see. I'm. What in the world?
So a quick question for our viewers here. Did you get the notice and or see the live stream showing up in Twitter and Facebook? Twitter or
I
Facebook
see it.
or YouTube?
I see it on Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
I got it now.
Okay.
How do I? Okay. Mute. There. And share. First, we have to change to my account. Oh my God, Facebook. Can you make this any more painful? There. I fulfilled my social media obligations. Done.
Excellent.
All right. So I got the uniform today. This the TNG uniform.
Does it fit?
Yeah, it's perfect. And what's funny is it says Captain Picard's uniform, which it could have been anybody on the ship. But what's funny is they have the kind of model standing there wearing the shirt, and then off to the side of the circle with Picard's head, but he's got the collarless shirt. It's like an early, season 1 picture of him, and this one that clearly has the collar. But
did you? Is that another Kozer Mart one?
It's rubies.
Rubies. What does it say on the tag? Because a lot of people resell the Kozer Mart stuff.
Rubies. If you go look at the
okay,
Amazon, that's a brand.
I can't look
rubies.
I can't. Don't take your love to town.
Can you see this?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see it doesn't say Kozer Mart because
hold on. Let me say enhance. There we go. That's I got it now.
Yeah, magnify and enhance sector 14G.
I got to take those tags off though. But actually, it's pretty good. The sleeves are maybe just a little long, but not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah, the replicator was a little off, but not the worst.
Gary Lindros says, "I'm looming sharp." I think he meant looking.
I'm assuming he meant looking, but
no, you're weaving. You're weaving, Kreg. You're just weaving. Smile and weave.
Weave. Yeah.
All right. Shall we begin our show?
Yes. Let me call up the show notes, which would always be a
good show notes. Oh.
No, not call them up, not call them out or yell at them.
No. Good.
All right. And got the wrong date in here.
All aboard.
Let's put the right date in here, shall we?
Wait, this is a whistle?
Yes, Eric, that is a whistle.
Okay. Well, someone's in a good mood tonight. Let's hope Charlie is.
I'm sure he will be. I'm sure the couple of weeks off have given him some rest. All right, so I should be set here.
All righty. Then we start recording in 5, 4, 3.
This is The Topic is Trek, episode 132 for Friday, February 17th, 2023. Coming up in this episode, The View goes to space. Star Trek IV, not dead. Picard, once more, with action. All that and more right now on The Topic is Trek. Beverly on Ice. Welcome to The Topic is Trek, the podcast that runs on impulse power. Join us for a journey where no show has gone before. If it has to do with Star Trek, there's a good chance we'll talk about it sooner or later, because on this show, the topic is Trek. Engage already. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another thrill-packed edition of The Topic is Trek. I am Clinton, one of your co-hosts, and as I like to point out, I can't be a co-host without other hosts. So first of all, joining in to be me from parts unknown with the hip new catchphrase that you will be saying tomorrow, but hearing today, is Mr. Kreg Step.
You said joining in to be me.
Ouch!
I have to beam out.
Roll the dice, take a chance.
Someone had a transporter accident.
I'm not sure if that was your catchphrase or a commentary on my reading there, but I
Yes,
like it. I kind of like it, whichever way.
it was a
It
catchphrase. You know what?
worked for me.
Hey, I'm changing gears here. Do you know what kind of catchphrase that is?
No, I do not.
It's from Monopoly.
Oh,
Board games.
only phrase I know from Monopoly is "That's it, I'm done. I hate this game." That's the phrase I know. When I try to play it.
Is that your son when you're playing with it?
No, that's me. It's like it just seems to go on forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, that is a drawn out game.
Don't say bored with this audience.
It's like Risk. It's like playing Risk.
It's a risk playing Monopoly with me, certainly. And also, I think we've already heard him, but beaming in also is Mr. Chuck Tomasi.
Hey, everybody. It's great to be back.
Well, welcome, you guys.
Scratch your head there. There you go.
So have you started your packing now for the Trek cruise?
Oh, should I have started now?
Yeah, I think you should. Probably is a wise idea.
Well, I do have a book in the luggage ready to
Greg
go.
and I are going to swap those paperback books.
Yeah.
So I get to read about the crappy American Express ads.
Yeah, that ought to be interesting.
Then at Dragon Con, we're
somehow
gonna
the
give you
book's
two
found
books.
its way overboard. I don't understand how that happened.
Yeah. Well, at Dragon Con, we're going to give you two books.
Oh my.
And you can see that Kirk and company stayed at the Hilton.
If it was the Atlanta Hilton, that would be interesting, I suppose.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, we have a lot to cover. As I mentioned, we're going to be doing some news. First of all, you'll hear some of the latest Trek news. Then we're also going to talk about episode 1 of season 3 of Picard. And we're going to end, of course, with our famous Warp Speed Roundtable, where we answer a question and then we invite you to answer the same question. But in order to get started with our subspace chatter, I ask the same question I always ask of our good friend Charlie X. Charlie, are we ready to start subspace chatter?
You don't need all that subspace chatter.
And we always get the same answer, but
Is it
we're
even
going
worth
anyway.
asking anymore.
So start us off, Chuck, despite what
All right.
Charlie X said.
On Thursday, Whoopi Goldberg welcomed the TNG cast of Star Trek Picard to the daytime talk show The View in a very special way. The set was redressed as 10 Forward. We have 2 clips that include discussion of Whoopi coming onto the show as Guinan, the initial reaction of TNG, the interactions with the fans, and Whoopi presenting Michael Dorn with an award for his appearing on more episodes. He had more camera appearances than any other character or actor on Star Trek. I believe that was Star Trek ever, not just TNG.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because he was in the movies as they were, but he was also on several seasons of Deep Space Nine.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he was on there. Yeah, he was on there a good bit. Yeah.
And I don't think his appearance as his distant relative in
Star Trek 6 when he was
I don't think that one counts.
judge or the lawyer.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was he was a member of that family, but he doesn't need that because of all the appearances on those two shows. Chuck, you got a chance to actually we have the two clips, but
I did get to watch this. This is like the first time in 10 years I've watched The View. Donna was just sitting down like, what are you watching? She goes, hang on, I'm going to fast forward. They spent over half the show on this segment. It was really good. Of course, the as we mentioned, the set was decked out as 10 forward. Most of it was big screen LED kind of thing background. So they could put up pictures of Guinan and the cast back in 1988 or Worf with the white beard today. It was really well done. They were very friendly. They talked a little bit about the show, of course. What's the interaction between Riker and Picard? And Jonathan Frakes says, well, he's not my boss anymore. So it's become more of a brotherly thing. And we'll talk more about that as we get into the show later. She did give him an award. It was a Worf action figure. It looked like it was stuck in a very tall, skinny cake.
Yeah, it looked like it was half embedded in that thing.
Yeah, it's like he got cut off at the waist and put on top of this. But Michael was very fun about it. He said, I'm all choked up. Like, this doesn't happen very often. I'd like to thank my mother and my father for that one time they had sex.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. She was dressed up as Guinan, and they showed a couple of shots of her from season 2 of Picard. And it was a lot of fun. Gates McFadden, Michael Dorn, Jonathan Frakes, and of course, Sir Patrick Stewart was there. And they asked them questions. They volleyed between the other couple of hostesses that were on the show. I was impressed. Now, Patrick said something. They said, how do you feel about the whole, the way things turned out? Do you feel like it's closure for these 3 seasons? And he said, I'm very happy with the finished product. It wasn't what some of us envisioned in the beginning, but my other producers, they executed shot for shot. They did it really well. So he gave accolades to his compatriots behind the set. And he said something like, there's been, when they first approached him, they said, now we didn't just want to do a reprise of, the things we had done in TNG. They said, if there's 20, 30 years have gone by since that time in your life, Sir Patrick, and he said, yes, there's hardly an aspect of my life, a corner of my life, I think he said, that hasn't been touched. And he said, well, that's the same for Jean-Luc. So he put that into the character, and he said, this is time that's gone by in Jean-Luc's life that we haven't seen yet. And I went, whoa, what was that bomb he just dropped on us?
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's going to be, obviously they couldn't use the same actors to play, from when Enterprise happened. There's all kinds of stories that we could tell. There's obviously the rift, shall we say, that we'll be talking about a little bit later. So it was a nice show. And again, I think it was just over half the show was dedicated to this segment.
Wow.
Well, for those of you who have a chance to watch the video version, I have a still up of the set. And given the fact that this was a one-shot deal, making this look like 10 forward, I think they did a pretty decent job. It helps they have a giant, Starfleet logo right in the middle of the
Delta shield in the middle of the carpet. Yeah. Listener Diane said he said the exact same thing on Colbert. So,
secrets to be revealed.
Well, sure. And they have kind of hinted that this is not the last time we're going to see TNG characters, even before the show premiered. So
we'll see.
We'll see.
All right. So, Kreg, what do you got for us next?
All right. So we already knew that Captain Pike and the crew of the Enterprise would be meeting up with Brad Boimler and Beckett Mariner, right? Well, from Lower Decks in season 2, episode of Strange New Worlds, but that I'm sorry, my computer screwed up, so I'm having to read this from something else. But that will now be the second time these two shows have crossed paths. In a Paramount Plus ad for the big game, Captain Pike and Ensign Mariner are trekking up Paramount Mountain.
There.
Yeah. Trekking up Paramount Mountain, joined by Beavis and Butthead, Lieutenant Dangle from Reno 911, Dora the Explorer, Sylvester Stallone's three daughters, Sophia, Sistine, and Scarlett. The gang looks up in horror as they see Sylvester Stallone attempting to scale the face of Sylvester Stallone.
And wasn't that on during the Super Bowl?
Yes, they did have
That's
that
what I
commercial.
thought.
Yeah, and Stallone currently stars in the Paramount Series Plus, The Tulsa King, and the entire Stallone family will appear in the new series, The Family Stallone. I see what they did there.
Mhm.
So we'll have a video and show notes of all that in the episode 103 or 132 of the topic is Trek. And by the way, when I saw him hanging, I didn't see the video, the commercial, but I did see a picture of him hanging from the rock, and I kept thinking, remember the movie Cliffhanger he was in?
Mm-hmm.
He was exactly hanging off the rock back then. So I don't
He
know
was
if that
hanging
has
off
to do with it.
Dwayne Johnson back then?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, A-Rock. I'm sorry. I was confused.
Did he voice the mountain voice and
Yes.
Okay, because I thought he actually sounded more like classic Rocky when he was voicing the mountain.
Yeah, what are you
Well, I
hanging
think
on my
that's
chin for?
I think that's what he was doing to distinguish
Look
him,
what
to
it is.
distinguish that from like him talking. I think he was doing that to,
It was a
kind
little
of-
deeper or something.
and thank goodness they did not call this new series, which is also going to be on Paramount Plus, apparently. They didn't call it Sly and the Family Stallone because that would just be a little too much, I think.
Right. Actually, I think they should have probably gotten the rights for that.
Should they have, though? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Well, next up, we've previously talked about Paramount Plus when it comes to international distribution in general, and it's kind of a bit lacking
Dicey.
in those regards.
Yeah.
To help solve that problem, Paramount has struck a new co-exclusive deal with Amazon's Video Prime, or Prime Video. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yes, indeed. So, up until now, Amazon Prime had exclusive streaming rights to the series outside the US and Canada. Through this deal, new episodes of the third season of Picard will premiere on Paramount Plus in both the US and Latin America on the same day, with the UK, Australia, Italy, France, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland all premiering the next day. Exactly, Eric's. Now, an exact premiere date for episodes in South Korea, where you can also get the show, has not yet been announced. In Canada, Picard is shown on Bell Media's CTV Sci-Fi channel and on the streaming service Crave. In these markets, that makes Paramount Plus the home of every episode of Star Trek that's a series. So that's good. So they've got everything from TOS to Strange New Worlds now on Paramount Plus in all those markets. However, in addition to streaming on Paramount Plus, Star Trek Picard will also stream on Amazon Prime Video outside the US and Canada. Are you with me so far? I'm sure you are. And of course, none of this is part of the Paramount Global/Universal deal to form Sky Showtime streaming service for markets around the world. So I think you can tell that they've covered a lot of bases, but it's kind of hard to keep track of the players that they've used to do it with.
yeah.
We do have a link.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We do have a link to an article if you think it's going to make any more sense, but I don't think it's going to.
Yeah. I feel like they really screwed up here because, at first they didn't give anybody overseas any access when Discovery came out, the last season of Discovery. Wasn't that right? And then
yeah, they had to kind of backtrack on it.
And they had to backtrack and figure it out. Now they got what do we see here? 5 logos and other places that you mentioned.
Right. So you've got it on Paramount Plus in the US, Canada, and I think it's 6 other countries, and then South Korea will follow. You have the two Canada things, the broadcast the broadcast one and Crave, and then you have the Sky Showtime one, which is covering, and we talked about that a couple of episodes ago, where they're going to cover a lot of countries in Europe, mostly additionally. And then I guess Prime Video, because Prime Video is so many places that they'll hit some of the places where none of these other things are going to. So the shows are getting out there, but it's really hard to figure out like which service do you get to get the show.
You know what? This is a recipe for people just pirating it and watching it somewhere.
No, well, of course we don't endorse that. We just,
No, but the confusion, people are just, I just go download it.
yeah, I think it's also going to be tough. I don't think it's so much of a problem with not being exact same day when you have those the markets like the UK and where it will be the very next day. That's not a problem. It's these ones where they still haven't released stuff, like they haven't given the date that Lower Decks is going to premiere in these markets. And my goodness, if you don't think that people have seen the show in those markets some other way by this point, I think you're sadly mistaken.
The other thing I'm thinking is like, I know there's probably a lot of nuance that I don't understand as far as the contractual obligations and stuff, but it's the internet. Why don't they just open it up? Open up Paramount Plus in those markets. Just hey.
I don't know. I'm sure there's a good. Well, I think one of the reasons is you have to strike deals with all the parties involved for all the different things, because Paramount Plus, although we think of it as a place for Star Trek, that's really not all that's there. So you might not be able to show movie X, Y, and Z in some other market. So you're customizing it like crazy. You also have to have the structure to support the hits you're going to get on the service. So you have to have the infrastructure set up for it. And I think you also have to have the promotional budget to launch them in all these different markets. So I think there is a lot going on behind the scenes, but this story is going to be developing for quite some time. All right. What do we have next, Chuck?
We have another story. Amazing.
Ooh.
What?
When WandaVision director Matt Shakman left development on the fourth Kelvinverse Star Trek film, we were left to wonder if there were issues behind the scenes. Well, Shakman has now spoken out about the decision. In conversation with The Wrap, Shakman said in part, "I had a great time working on Star Trek for a little over a year, working closely with J.J. Abrams and everyone at Paramount. And I love that franchise. And I love that cast that JJ put together, and it would have been an unbelievable pleasure to work with them on the fourth installment there. But movies have different journeys and momentums and schedules and are a bit mercurial. And so when the Fantastic Four opportunity came up, it was just too hard to pass up. And to go back home to Marvel, a place that I worked on WandaVision, those people are wonderful collaborators." Shakman also touched on the familial aspect of returning to both Star Trek and the Fantastic Four. Quote, "They both were launched in the 60s at the same time. They're both about optimism and looking to the stars, and technology can solve everything, and they're about family too. The family you have, the family you make. So they're aligned in many ways and speak to my heart, and equally, so I'm excited to be working on the Fantastic Four. Marvel's Fantastic Four is set to make its debut during Phase 6 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe on February 14th, 2025. 2 more years.
Well, it must be a very romantic movie. It's going to premiere on February 14th.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to say, put pressure on you, Kreg, but you're really the comic book person in all this stuff. When Matt was talking about this family aspect being very similar between the original series, or Star Trek, and the Fantastic Four, I'm somewhat familiar with the Fantastic Four. I know that they're not all related. It's just you've got the husband and wife, and then the other two people are people that, did they know both those other people ahead of time?
The Human Torch is actually Sue Richards' brother. So,
okay, all right.
So really, 3 of them are related. Ben Grimm was like, and especially in the movies, they kind of portrayed him as a helper or somebody that helped read, like almost not like a bodyguard, but was close, like an assistant almost.
He's the manager.
Yeah, so he got to go to space, and that's what happened to him. So yeah, that it's a very close family because, like I said, three of them are related, and of course Reed is the brother-in-law to the Human Torch. So yeah, they're all related.
Okay.
But and on Star Trek, I wouldn't say they're obviously not related, but they worked together for so long that they were like a family. They knew each other very well, right? And looked after each other and had each other's backs, that kind of thing. So, I can see that a little bit.
Yeah, and it sounds like, given the history of the Fantastic Four movies, which is really not great,
Right.
I think you're somewhat read into this that the opportunity to do a fourth movie in a franchise that's well established and has been doing fairly well versus trying to turn a ship around. That sounds like that's what the challenge is to,
Mhm.
to take something in that people are
Yeah.
going about and try to produce something out of it.
Mm-hmm. I would say the Fantastic Four is probably in a much better spot now, if we want to talk about that for a second. Only because Fox had it before. They would turn out a movie trying to hold on to the rights a little longer, but I don't think they really spent the time on quality. And had I guess the understanding of what they should really do with his characters. So I feel much better about it being under Marvel's umbrella now, because they can involve it with everything that they've been doing. But I guess it depends on what he's a fan of, which one he wants to work with. Is that what you're asking?
Well, it's just curious about all this, the talk about the family aspects of it, and I just really didn't have as strong of a knowledge about the Fantastic Four makeup, other than knowing who the four characters were.
Yeah. So, yeah, the family thing is pretty strong with the Fantastic Four.
Okay, and you have the next story because we're doing a sort of a follow-up on the previous one.
Yeah, we're not done with Matt Shackman yet. Speaking with Collider, the director was asked if he had ever mentioned what movie the movie was all about, and Shackman said, "No, I haven't, and I think I'm probably not allowed to speak too much about it because I think we're still working on is a version of what I had been working on at the time when I was involved." When asked about the scope of the movie, whether it was this budget would be one of those blockbusters with $100 million movies, or $100 million or more, he said, "In our day and age, anytime you go into space in a movie, it's expensive. Yeah, you got to send a rocket up."
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, well, that's different from real life.
$10,000 a pound.
That's right. And when you're flying around in the Enterprise, even though you're going to land, even if you're going to land, never seen the Enterprise land, and be in one place for a long time, it's still pretty expensive. So yes, the movie I was planning to make was going to be a large tentpole film,
which I think it kind of has to be. I mean, if the other three were large tentpole movies, which, if you're not familiar with the term, just in case, that basically
circus.
Well, I mean, as far as movies go,
right?
So it's the movie that you're kind of using to kick off and be the big movie for either the summer or for the now a secondary market is the Christmas time, which I think was that's when Star Trek 4 had got moved to before it got shelved.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So those are that's where you want to place movies you think are going to do well and really kick off your seasons. And so Star Trek was going to be one of those movies. So yeah, I'm not surprised it was going to have a big budget.
It's the season of Star Trek.
That you can sing because I have no idea what that was about.
I'll stop singing now.
Okay, and take us home, Chuck.
And finally, if you're a collector of Star Trek items, you have a new one to add to your collection. Hooray.
My wallet is quivering over here.
Sideshow has just announced that their replica of the next generation Type 2 phaser, that one that looks like a dustbuster,
Yeah.
is available for pre-order, featuring an all-metal body. This replica incorporates a variety of electronic, light, and sound features designed to simulate the special effects as seen on screen,
What?
including blasting holes in your friends.
I was gonna say, hey Chuck, check this out.
Ah!
Don't use it as a razor.
Yeah.
Each numbered limited edition museum quality replica comes with a wooden presentation case, metal plaque, a certificate of authenticity. Only 1,500 replicas will be made, and a pre-order price is a rather odd amount of $555. They couldn't round it to 47, 47, 47 or something.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We have a link to the pre-order page over at the show notes for episode 132. Beverly on Ice.
Ooh,
Over at thetopicstrack.com.
All right. And that wraps up our regular news, but now we're going to move on to the stuff that Conan doesn't talk about.
You're not bitter, are you?
I'm not. Who said I was bitter at all? We're talking about Vulcan, Alberta, Canada news, which we've covered for years, Conan. Thank you very much. And in those weeks when we don't have a story that involves Trek in Vulcan, Alberta, Canada, like their upcoming, Trek days and so forth, or Spock Day, I should say.
We make stuff up.
Well, no, we don't make stuff up, but we cover other things just so you know what's happening in Vulcan, Alberta, Canada. Well, a total of $430,000 Canadian in funding is now available for 2 outdoor sports courts in Vulcan. That's right. During Monday's town council meeting, it was announced that the Vulcan Kinsman Club had been awarded a $215,000 grant. Again, with the odd numbers. It's weird.
Yeah.
Which was added to the $200,000 private donation. That's interesting. And the receipt of $15,000 in 2021 when Vulcan was named Alberta's most active community.
Wow.
Last year, the town estimated that the cost of phase 1 would be just about $430,000. Well, that's what they have now.
And 10 cents.
Yeah, well, that's going to...
And filming will begin on phase 2 shortly.
Well, phase 1 includes the construction of a basketball court, which would also be used for volleyball and badminton, and a tennis court, which would double as a pickleball court.
Of course.
Yeah.
In true Canadian fashion, the basketball court could also be used as a rink. With the funding in place, the next step is to prepare final design plans and to update cost estimates. That's where that extra 10 cents is going to come in, I'm sure, at that point. In case you're wondering, phase 2 would include, sorry, my screen is not, here we go, would include construction of a building that would house washrooms, a storage area, and multi-purpose rooms, as well as a picnic shelter, picnic tables, lighting for the sports courts, trees and shrubbery, and an irrigation system. Phase 2's price tag is around $587,000 and 10 cents Canadian. With the exception of the construction of the building, the town would handle all the work of phase 2. Now, the court will be located in Vulcan's Memorial Park, and we have a link to the article as well as a link to Memorial Park on Google Maps, just so you can find it over in the show notes for episode 132, Beverly on Ice, over at thetopicstrek.com. Take that, Conan. Ball's in your court. No matter which one you choose.
Your move. What?
Well, that's a great question. Rex, I don't know how to answer it, but it's a great question.
What?
Now, we've covered a lot of news in this episode, but we have links to 72 additional stories broken up by series, movies, and other categories. This time around, there are a lot of stories about Star Trek Picard. No surprise there, I suppose. It's reviews, it's analysis. There's one that I didn't get a chance to read saying, don't watch it. You'll just encourage them. I don't even know what that one. You'll have to check that in the show notes to find out what that one's all about and what that person had in mind. But again, you can find them all over in the show notes for episode 132, Beverly on Ice, over at the topic is Trek.com. All right, now comes my
ice skate. I'm ice skating.
Yes. In the winter on that rink that they just put into Vulcan, Alberta, Canada.
Yeah, you want to make sure you use the basketball court, not the tennis court, because you trip over the net at mid-court.
And I don't think that court would freeze because they played pickleball, so all that salt there would probably stop
vinegar
from freezing. Yeah.
Hey, all right, wait a minute. What do you get a problem against pickleball?
I've seen pickleball.
I've heard pickleball. It's a noisy.
It's a very silly sport. But I understand why it's become popular. But there's lots of investments in pickleball, and I'm not convinced it's going to stay long enough to be a thing. So I'm glad that they would double use the court. It can be this or that.
Someone's going to be laughing in 30 years when it becomes an Olympic sport.
I forget what show my wife and I were watching, but they kept every once in a while they kept mentioning how pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the U.S. I'm like, what?
Well, you can go to Paramount Plus, oddly enough, and you can see the I think it was a 1 hour show where you had celebrities playing pickleball, and Stephen Colbert was the host of that special.
Oh, okay.
They actually had winners and losers and people being upset that they were losing pickleball. So there you go. All right, now comes my favorite part of the show where I get to say goodbye to Charlie X. Goodbye, Charlie.
I want to stay.
No, get out of here.
So much air.
What?
Light in here.
It's much
I'm
lighter.
gonna get that clip of Eric's going, what?
That's right.
All right, now we're going to be talking about episode 1 of season 3 of Star Trek Picard, which I already mentioned at the beginning of the show, but just in case, can we play really quickly the spoiler alert?
Maybe
we can't.
Yes, we
Maybe
can.
No,
I just want to get the right one.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
All right.
Spoiler
Is that enough?
That's enough. Whew.
No, it's not enough.
All right, Star Trek Picard, season 3, episode 1.
Oh, by the way,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just thinking.
It's on a roll there.
Well, I was listening to the Trek Files, and they were talking about Star Trek, the Experience, just the other day. And what was that? There? Oh man, my mind went blank. We were talking about something, and he brought it up exactly what we were just talking about.
The effect that they use for the transport.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we were talking about the transporter, and they brought it up as well. Of course, Chuck and I got a comment on our video. I don't know if you saw this, Clinton. We got a comment on our video. Somebody said, "Why is the camera on the host?" Because you can see the effect. She left the lights on. You can see it in the reflection, so you can get an idea still. The guys, but it was Kyle or myself. I'm not sure which one.
Whoever was on camera was watching
the person
people talking, going, "Oh, that's fascinating! Look at that!" And we're not looking at it on camera.
Yeah, I have to admit, I've probably done some of that myself when I'm filming, because you get caught up in the moment and you're looking, right?
Or you're holding the camera like this, but you're looking off to the side.
Oh, look, that is cool. Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Those were our rookie years.
Yeah.
There are other videos that actually show the effect. There's I think it's the My Star Trek Experience. I think in there they show a segment where they're over and over and over testing that wall going up.
Yes.
So you can find that effect.
And you can see the sound guy with this big old mixer at con or at ops.
Yeah, that's right.
What are you doing?
So one of the reasons we mentioned
tweet just right.
Yeah, one of the reasons we mentioned that is because they use apparently the exact same effect in the Guardians of the Galaxy ride that opened up at Epcot at
Maybe they borrowed the equipment from Star Trek: The Experience.
Maybe so.
Maybe transporter. You're not using it anymore.
All right. Well, episode 1 is entitled, cleverly enough, The Next Generation. Oh, I see what
Part
they did
1.
there. And it's written by Terry Matalas, who, as we know, is also the showrunner on the series.
Yes.
And boy, I'm gonna go at this name and see if I can make it. Doug Aronikoski. How's
Aaron
that?
Nikoski.
Yes. How's that? That sound good enough?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to talk about it in kind of this random order at this point, because we have all had a chance to watch the series. As you know, it premiered today as the day we're recording, and life happens. So I've had a chance to see it twice, and Chuck and Craig have had a chance to see it once. And hopefully all of you out there have had a chance to see it.
Hey,
Otherwise,
That's all I
Copious
need.
notes.
It's like a steel locker, man.
yeah.
Steel
I take
locker.
copious notes.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so we're going to start off at the beginning. One of the things that we noticed is that the opening credits, there really aren't any opening credits. We just have Star Trek Picard after, I think it's after the first scene. Is it after the first scene? I think it's the very beginning of it. But after, we have a slide that comes up, which really keys into this concept that it's an ode to much of Star Trek, because the first thing you see on screen at the beginning of Star Trek Picard is a single line of text that says, in the 25th century. And it's essentially exactly the same title card as the opening of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Right.
And we get callbacks, music, and otherwise visually to those movies a lot.
There was a lot.
First episode.
First Contact music. I heard that. What was the other one? Well, all of them, really, like you said.
But this just was this really quick shorthand way of saying we're going to be touching a lot of things during these 10 episodes. And the first thing we're going to touch on is the fact that apparently Beverly is pretty much
badass.
Yeah.
Well,
they started out with this very calming music. It was the Ink Spots singing "I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire." And you're like, well, this is interesting. They're hooking you in. And this,
but some people want to just watch the world burn.
Right from the get-go, I felt like this is movie material here. I mean, I felt like I was watching a full featured film with the production level where it was the music, the acting, the lighting, the sound. It was
I would agree.
Impressive.
Totally agree.
And it's also the use of that music kind of harkens back to season 1 of Picard. With Blue Skies being used. I know that was a callback also to the movies, but still you're starting off with, that's an interesting choice of music to be having there.
They had other hits of older music, and I couldn't place all of them. I did a little research, but I couldn't place all of them throughout the show. But it was very interesting.
Well, remember when Picard started in season 1, and the first thing you really see is the nebula, and then they kind of cut away, and you see the Enterprise in the distance, and that's kind of what happened. They showed Beverly's ship, right? And for a minute I went, I didn't start episode 1 again, did I?
Yeah. Well, before she goes and starts on a rampage defending her ship, somebody gets locked away or something, and they're like, let me out. What?
I think it was Vedic, wasn't it? It sounded like,
well, no, you get to find out who it is.
You'll find out
at the
later.
very end of the episode who that was.
Right. So these aliens lock on, board the ship, and she goes defending them, doing some interesting tactics. She gets winged in the process, but continues to shoot them down. And
what did you think about her? What did you think about her
weapon?
Well, not the weapon, but deciding that after that border was down, to vaporize him.
That seemed a little out of character for her, at least to me. I was like, wow, she's kind of.
We don't know what state of mind she's in because
I know. That's what I'm saying. As far as we know her,
well, they gave us another clue a little bit later, where she sends an encrypted message to Jean-Luc
coded.
explicitly saying the myriad codec, which
Mm-hmm.
is the way she encrypted the message. And
Well, let's
yeah,
not get too far ahead of ourselves on the message, but yeah.
right. So my question here is, she immediately, the two other ships come up and approach her. She goes to warp, and the ship that was attached breaks off.
Mm-hmm.
That was interest number one. And then I thought, second thing is, why send the message to Jean-Luc? Why wouldn't you send it to Starfleet? Why wouldn't you send it to,
Mhm.
you know,
She
the
said no-
nearest ship? Send out a distress call. What's going on here? So
Well,
they had me hooked right from the get-go.
yeah. I
Well-
assumed it was probably because he was one of the few people that she probably really trusted, because she said, she was saying don't trust anybody.
And as we know from Prodigy, she would have had to disable the automatic distress signal that goes out, right? Because apparently there's an automatic distress signal that goes out fleet-wide
Yeah.
when a ship is in trouble. So
I'll take a cue from your next picture. We cut to, we get a little bit of an intro there. There was kind of a newish intro, and we cut to Jean-Luc and Laris kind of cleaning house, doing a rummage sale. I don't know what it was.
A little of both, because he wants to give away the Enterprise painting, which I'm wondering,
I'll take it.
How did that survive?
The crash,
The crash?
the fire. Yeah. Well, I mean, the photo album survived.
No, that's
I was
true.
thinking the same thing.
Hey,
Didn't
wait
that
a minute.
come up-
He's
What?
a replicated person, so they can replicate the painting.
Maybe.
He's
Yeah, they
not
spent a lot of
original
time on
material
that.
either.
So he suggests, let's give it to Geordi. He's running a museum of some sorts. Well, we go off and live happily ever after on Chaltalk 4, wherever that is, somewhere in the run.
Near Chaltalk 3. And
This is Chaltalk 5.
Right.
oh my.
But he says, I want to get away from this. I want a new adventure. Don't ever say those words.
Also notice that he still had the flute. Apparently that shows up again. That he didn't lose that either.
Well, it's packed small. The picture, not so much. You're only allowed one carry-on. I could not place the second song. They had another old-timey song in there.
Right, that he's
So
playing.
He's like, where's that alert coming from? Well, this song is playing. Computer, do you hear an alert? Yes. Where's it coming from? I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
what help are you?
the computer is such a help in every scene in this thing. They ask the
Not.
computer for help several times, and it just gives
Nothing.
I don't know, good question or answer. It's pretty much exactly like your home assistant. You ask it something and it gives
Google,
you
cancel alert.
Yeah.
It keeps working.
He goes to his old Foot Locker, which has his old uniform that Craig's wearing, and it still has
He's
a
had to dust it off.
TNG era comm badge, which is chirping.
The battery in that thing is amazing.
No
kidding.
It
Yeah.
must be dilithium or something.
Well, it uses wireless charging in the box.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So of course he figures out, it's Myriad. I know. I'll just think Myriad, what codec it's using, and uses his code Picard 47 Alpha Tango. So we have to throw 47 around. Like,
hey, you would think that password would be compromised by now.
You would think.
it was 20 years ago. Do you remember a password from 6 months ago?
Yeah, because I just keep adding a 1, 2, 3 edits.
It's still 1, 2, 3, 4 for Craig, so no
That's right.
problem.
Thanks for the info, buddy.
Yeah.
And Hellbird. That's
Now, what I found interesting is that I didn't know how he was going to, bring this up with Laris, and apparently just shows her the message. We don't see that scene where he shows her the message, but
Right.
what we get from them is this conversation about she must be in trouble, and I can tell, from my years in intelligence that she's terrified that this is some delusion. She's really kind of in fear of her life, and you can see slowly Laris is realizing that he's going to have to go, and this idea that if he goes, he may not come back because it's another trip out into space and anything can happen.
Yep.
So she's definitely of mixed emotions, as is he, because he's kind of reluctant to do this as well at first, that he doesn't understand, what the problem is and why she can't trust Starfleet. Just he has a lot of questions. He's not just let's go and goes rushing off. They have a very long conversation about it.
And just like first season of Picard, we have to get the band back together. But fortunately, it doesn't take 4 episodes to do it this time. He goes off and finds Will Riker, who is planning a celebration of something called Frontier Days. I don't know if you put on a raccoon skin hat.
No.
What you...
No.
We've read about that before, right? Frontier Days.
Not
No,
Frontier.
yeah.
Howdy, partner.
I'm
Snake in my
celebrating-
boot. I don't know.
I'm celebrating Davy Crockett.
We do find out right away when we see Riker that apparently when you have your little ships, and I guess Eagle Moss went back into production, by this point, that the ship that no one wants to have in their collection
Fat ones.
is the fat one, the Enterprise D.
That is pretty funny. I know. I was watching it and I went, wait, did they just say the fat one?
They did. They did indeed.
Yeah, there was some nice little humorous tips. Although, as the show went on, I thought they may have overplayed
Age.
occasional exchange between Picard
Yeah.
and Riker. It was starting to get a little cheesy.
I mean, I can understand to your point, we were mentioning earlier that now Riker is not, Picard is not Riker's boss anymore.
Right.
So that dynamic has suddenly changed. And perhaps what they're doing, perhaps overemphasizing at the same time, is the fact that this is a different relationship. It's the same relationship, but it has moved on
Mhm.
just like everything else has moved on.
Yep.
I kind of felt like that, at least in the bar part, because once the show got going and they left, they left Earth, I thought that their repertoire was a little bit smoother.
Yeah.
Seemed a little better because they were, trying to plan out what they were going to do and playing a little bit off the cuff kind of thing. I liked it better going forward. Yes.
Do you remember? So the way they found out where she was to take the coordinates she sent and
Yes.
Hellbird. And Picard says, "I don't remember anything about Hellbird." Riker
Yes,
says,
he wouldn't.
"I do. It was
Mhm.
it was what, a systems failure or a virus or something that was."
So that the comms were compromised
That's it.
while Picard was
Locutus.
Locutus.
Yeah.
So what they had to
Do
do,
you remember anything about Hellbird at that point, or was that just like something they pulled out of their?
I didn't get a chance to look that up. If somebody watching
Okay.
in the live stream knows. So what they essentially did was they added 3 to everything. So one would assume that if I'm reading that correctly, what you're doing is you're taking all the letters, their number coordinates, and adding a 3 to them, and you end up with your space coordinates out of that word. Is
Which
what I'm
put them in
guessing.
the writing system.
Right.
If we do this, buy the book.
Yes.
Yeah. We would
Ones would seem
we're
like
going to need a
threes.
ship, and then we cut to a scene on Metalis Prime, and I went, "Oh, that wasn't too subtle, was it?"
I know. I saw that. I was like, oh yeah.
Well,
or is it Metalis Prime? It's like, well, I envisioned the scene from the original Superman movie, Otisburg.
Well,
We're gonna get to Bragaville. What is it?
it's a little planet. It's just a little, Miss Teschmacher has an entire planet. But we see that Rafi is worse for wear at this point, apparently, or so.
Yeah, and I immediately went, wait a minute, is this her current state, or is this an act?
Right.
As she's talking
I
to
was thinking the same thing.
I thought,
yeah.
she's I'm almost strung up. My girlfriend left me. I'm like,
I said, oh, we're either learning about her or she's lying
right.
to play a part.
I kind
Yeah.
of went for the act. She's trying to pump this guy for info or something.
Yeah.
And
it was-
I'm wondering if there's a bit of truth in what she's telling him to add to the veritas of it.
Yeah.
Is that right? That's the right word. but that I don't think that's the right word.
No, gravitas. Gravitas.
Thank you. I was going to say that
Gravitas.
doesn't make any
Veritas
sense.
is truth.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Well, okay. To add to the truth, so she's pulling things, but she's also lying at the same time about a lot of it.
Right.
I thought that she kind of tipped her hand too much, really pressing that she's not in Starfleet anymore, and she want, it's like, you can trust me. I'm. That's when I started to go, I don't know if this is really true or not. I don't know. That's just the point at which I said,
Well,
I'm questioning that.
And then I thought the same thing. I was like, okay, she's playing a part. Then at the end, she was holding that thing to get high on. She was like,
I
said,
could
drop
do
it.
this.
I was going, drop
do
it.
this.
I was talking to her. It's like, drop it,
Yeah.
drop it, drop it. And she did. So, okay.
Yeah, we later find out that she was closer than we thought to actually taking it, being where she was. We also get to, that's a bit later. So I shouldn't get ahead of myself.
By the way, we got a few comments in the thing.
Mhm.
My computer is messed up and I can't click on the options or the make the comments show up. So I'll
Okay.
let y'all do that.
Oh, okay.
So let's see what we have here. Let's
Melissa has joined us.
Yep.
Thank you.
And we have this one here. It shows up.
Forward, the mission they talk about where they update the comm badges, security happens off screen.
Right. So there we go.
Let's see. The song he hears while doing alert is "I Can't Stop Crying," Will Grove White. Nicely done. Nicely done.
Interesting.
There's another song that comes up, Chopin's Nocturne in E.
Yes, but that's played by I'll call him. It's interesting that Styles and Shaw both are single, are very similar names, because boy, those personalities are kind of the same thing, aren't they? All right, but we'll get to
We
that.
move on from Rafi and we get to a starbase.
Well, just before we move on to the starbase, we get Rafi calling in and saying that she wants to have a debriefing about what she's done on the mission, and we're going to find out some more about that debriefing. So clearly,
I thought she was talking to a computer, but she's actually talking to like some mysterious handler through a computer synth voice.
Yeah,
it took me a while. It took that second interaction on that scene for me to figure that part out.
Right. Okay. So now we go.
Now we go to this big, beautiful starbase,
which is definitely an update to the one that we used to see in the Star Trek, the original cast movies.
Yep.
Just got some little additions added on to it. They got zoning approval to put some little extra doodads on it.
This is Wing 1, Wing 2, and we discovered that the Titan has been refit. It is a Neo-Constitution class, which has nothing to do with the
it's a new ship. It's a Titan A.
Yeah.
So it's brand new. And
let's blame it on LaForge because they have. And
I got to tell you, that was
a beautiful ship.
It's beautiful, and they hung on it for a little bit when it left the.
Starbase.
And I was like, I could just sit there and watch that on YouTube all day. That looks great.
It wasn't overly done like the flyby scene in the motion picture.
Yeah, where
the initial shots were long enough.
Yeah.
And the coming out of space dock was long enough. And so you got a good look at this ship. You saw, the name on the back that says Titan. You get to see, the lower, section. And
it's interesting that there have been several ships where we kind of have this quick version of it. As we know, we had the super long version in Lower Decks where they just keep looking at the ship shot after shot after shot, which is a parody of Star Trek: The Motion Picture. So my feeling is you can have that once, and they did it in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and so everyone else has to have the short version of this. The thing I noticed in the background, we're talking about these nods, is you have the shuttle approaching the Titan, and in there are Riker, who used to be the captain of the Titan, and Picard. It's the setup of Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and also from the voyage home
Right,
of heading
right.
towards the ship. And in the background, it is definitely Jerry Goldsmith and sorry, like James Horner
Mhm.
music that you get
Yep,
in this
yep.
sequence. It's just beat for beat. Some of it is exactly, and some of it is just kind of referencing those pieces of music. But a lot of this again is staged to be. Remember, we said in that title card, you're going to get a
Yeah.
lot of. Well, okay, here's some more of it right here.
That's yeah, that again, that goes back to this felt very cinematic, and that's why they kept
Yeah.
dropping these subtle hints. Even if you didn't recognize them immediately, they were almost like subliminal, you're watching a movie. Right?
Yeah. Hey, by the way, Doug Drexler answered a question on Facebook.
Oh, I thought you were gonna
made it-
say in our chat.
No. that'd be
What?
nice. No. So he was somebody had asked him about the Titan A, and then he put this little long paragraph. I'm gonna read it real quick because it's kind of interesting. He said, "Now I imagine he had a hand in this, right? He worked on Picard, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So he says the NCC 80102A Constitution 3 class, referred to as in Starfleet slang as Neo Constitution class. This new Titan is primarily an exploration vehicle honoring the retro design of the original proto construction series. Launched in 2402 under the command of Captain Liam Shaw, who we see later, the first officer Annika Hansen, aka the former Borg drone 7 of 9, although constructed using select fifth generation iterations of systems from its predecessors. It is essentially an all new ship, despite Starfleet engineers affectionately designing a refit. The Constitution 3, it was designed to cater to a close support envelope at sublight speeds, namely in and around densely populated star systems, as witnessed by its overpowered impulse engines. That's what prompted this. Somebody said, "Why does it have 11 or whatever it was impulse engines?" The largest sublight power to geometry ratio in the fleet.
And yet, apparently, it can, without batting an eyelash, get to warp 9.99.
Don't
Yeah.
go to 10.
Yeah, no, 10 is salamanders, and you don't
Yeah.
want that.
Here there
We
be
fixed that,
salamanders.
but they fixed that.
Did they really though? Who wants to
Yeah.
test that theory out?
Fool me once. Okay,
And-
just saying.
Isn't that what 7 of 9 was saying?
So they get on board the starbase and they meet 7 of 9, but she prefers to be, the
No, she
captain-
doesn't prefer to
the
be.
captain asks that she be referred to as Commander Annika Hansen.
Yeah,
And,
he preferred it.
She takes them
Yes.
to the bridge. It is a 3-chair configuration in the bridge, but holy crap, it was dark in there. It's like, I guess the lights don't get installed until Tuesday.
Well,
Yeah, right.
all those monitors, I mean, it's floor to ceiling, every surface is covered with a monitor. I don't think you need any lights in there.
Yeah,
I had to turn up the brightness on my TV to go, what are we looking at here? It was like an episode of the X-Files. So
yeah, pretty much.
they are introduced to the helmsman, navigator, Ensign LaForge, Sydney LaForge, Geordie's
Yes.
daughter.
Mhm.
And
one of them.
And Riker makes a complete
Riker makes a comment.
botchery of
Didn't
this.
you have a nickname at the academy? She goes, I don't recall.
Yeah, never.
Mhm.
And
Crash, it was
Picard is
Crash.
saying, "Nix it, nix, no,
Yeah.
stop,
Yeah.
stop."
Ixnay,
You crashed
Ixnay.
the shuttle
Right.
twice.
And the entire bridge crew is like listening to this chuckling.
Yeah,
As they're taking the Titan out and she's driving, I thought she was going to crash into the doors. I'm
Hey,
like,
Again,
whoa.
Shades of Galaxy Quest going
Yeah,
on.
that's it. yeah. I was thinking the same thing.
I was about to lose it right
That
there.
would
Like,
that would have
no.
that would have been hilarious if they pulled a Galaxy Quest. Actually, I think Captain Shaw would not have been thrilled about that for the way he talked about his ship.
Yeah.
That would have been too much.
Well, speaking of Captain Shaw, so what we've learned at this point is that,
He's a jerk.
Well, no,
what we
he's-
learned at this point is that Picard and Riker need to get to these coordinates that they've established, and they can't get it's just past the edge of Federation space. To add insult to injury, how are they going to get there? And so they've come up with
A plan.
We don't
Not so
know
much
all
a
the ins
plan,
and
but a
outs of it.
ruse.
Yeah, kind of something where Riker says, "Oh, you can pull this off, Picard. Just use what is it? That famous
That grumpy face.
yeah, that's that sour expression that you do so well."
There it is.
Yeah.
So
They
then we
also,
meet yeah,
on the bridge. They're about to go to warp, and he tells Annika, who's piloting or driving, he says, "Don't you need to call down to engineering and let them know?" She says, "Oh, we don't do that anyway. That's no longer protocol. Everything's run by computer." And he says, "You're going to
course.
make an excellent captain someday."
nice
Nice
recovery.
recovery, Admiral. Shut
Yeah.
it, Bill. So
Yeah,
you get some
shut
of that brotherly banter again.
That's what I'm talking about. It's not as cheesy as it was in the bar. It got a little thick there, but
Right, but let's-
outside, I think it worked a little bit better. Yeah,
Let's
look at
do
that
it.
shot of that ship. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Right.
I'm-
So you see the
When we're done
Titan
here, I'm
screen.
probably going to go watch that little clip.
Craig's
again.
going to be in his bunk.
They have a name for that type of thing. Anyway, let's move on. So now we meet Captain Shaw, who
Captain Shaw.
basically Captain Styles version 2.0.
Right.
Rather than writing crop, he's just he put that writing crop someplace apparently, and
Yeah. Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
it's looking funny.
we've already learned even before this scene starts that apparently he doesn't want any Borg on his ship, so he's insisting that Seven refer to herself by her human name, Annika Hansen. But his first introduction to Riker and Picard is just as interesting because he's eating his meal when they come in and they say, "Oh, we're sorry, are we late?" And he says, "No, your reputation preceded you by so much before you get into the room that I started eating early." It's like, okay.
They really let you know what kind of character he is.
He had to purge all the bebop jazz out of the system that Riker left behind,
He
apparently.
likes order. He likes rhythm. He likes timing. It's like, okay, wow.
Yeah.
He pretty much this is the bottle of Chateau Picard that he's given. Saying,
This
well,
ship-
Oh, the
that's not my
Melbeck
thing."
man.
This ship runs by a metronome.
Yeah, exactly. We also get another callback to Star Trek 2 because he says, and this ship is, you can run your finger over any surface of this ship without seeing any dust whatsoever,
Yeah.
which is a typical inspection thing, but we
Yeah.
do get that in
We
Star
change
Trek
the
2.
filters often.
That's right. That's right. And then we get the ruse from Riker and Picard, which goes oh so well, especially when Picard mentions a deep space station that is
Yeah.
no longer even
DS4.
active.
Oh, DS4 has been shut down for a year. I think
Hmm.
the Admiral meant DS7 or DS11.
11.
So I thought to myself, who said that? 7, 11? No, okay. Probably
Mm.
unintentional.
No, that was yeah. I don't think so. Because the ruse is to convince Captain Shaw that they need to go to this particular place that they want to get to because it will show the speed at which the Titan A can travel, and it's just and he goes no,
No.
no,
Yeah.
nope, not going to do it, and he
I like-
just rails against
I
them.
like when he says no, and they both look up like, oh, what?
He's an admiral. I'm a captain. It's like,
You're
retired admiral
Yeah, I
and
was
a
gonna
captain without a
Not
chair.
of this ship. Yeah.
And
not of
yeah.
this ship.
Not your ship.
I mean, it just gets worse and worse and worse.
And then he walks out.
Piling it. Yeah. So it's not happening. It's just not happening, and
not
they've
their
got no
way,
they've got no alternative. But we get a little glimmer of hope of what might happen at the end of that scene. But then we cut away.
We cut away to
After-
Rafi, who's looking for this red lady. We don't know what the red lady represents, and neither does she. And she's searching, and the computer again is zero help.
Right.
Like,
We
wow.
also have a quick shot of her looking at a little girl saying good morning to this recording, and my guess is it's the daughter that was born to her son and the Romulan that
Oh, right.
he was married to. So somehow she has some video of him. Maybe the son sent that along, or the wife sent it.
Her
I don't
son
know.
hates her.
Yeah, so I don't. Well, he may hate her, but at the same time, maybe he felt a bit of guilt because she was correct about her assumption this whole time about that. There was a conspiracy going on.
Mm.
And so, okay, well, I guess there kind of was. So I'll give you that much. And here's some video of the kid.
Mm-hmm.
That may be it. But yeah, then she's on to doing her searching for what this clue that her dealer gave her about the red lady. And
Mhm.
apparently, it's been described. She had described it as a I want to say portal, but what was the weapon described as?
I just picked up that she narrows it down to stolen experimental weapons from the Daystrom station.
Well, she says earlier on about
A ship was stolen from the Daystrom jet.
I gotta go back.
Now, the only thing that was not stolen was the M5.
Yeah, and Agamus, hopefully Agamus is still there.
Yeah.
I can't find it, but she did describe. Oh, here we go. Experimental tunneling technology.
Oh yeah, like quantum tunneling or something. Yeah.
Well, we find out what that means, which essentially is Portal,
Right.
the game, in a way. But yeah, she's trying to locate where this red lady is, and the computer's just saying, "Oh, there's a ship named that, and it's docked here, and there was this person in the Tal Shiar who was murdered." No, none of this is working.
Right.
She goes, "Holy cow! I got to hightail it to HQ."
Well, first of all, she talks to her handler. It's a one-way conversation because she's talking and they're just typing.
Yeah. And then she had to leave. Then she had to leave a voicemail with Starfleet.
Yeah. So he points out this handler points out when she says, "Well, it's very difficult for me to be here," and I know, and it points out that from her record, the things about her substance abuse and all this other stuff. It's like, okay, guess you know a lot about me, and the handler is very insistent that this is a very serious situation and something has to be done to stop this plan, whatever they're going to do with this thing. So she looks up events, realizing, well, maybe it's an event and it's not a person and it's not a place and it's not a ship. What is it? So she asks for names of events. Now, did you catch the names of the events that she gets? She gets
only
3
the
events.
last one. I saw Frontier Day was the last one, but it
She gets, Frontier Day is the last one because that was in the screen. The first one is, and we saw it in season 1 of Strange New Worlds, Gratitude Day. Apparently.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Picard Day.
No, Gratitude Day is the first one, and then Empire Union Day is the second one. So I'm imagining that is a Klingon.
Haldor Joy was up there somewhere.
Yeah.
I make the list.
So she eliminates the first 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not exactly sure why she eliminates the first. Well, Gratitude Day is kind of, you wear a pin. It's every, there's nothing really with that. And I guess Empire Union Day, well, she can't necessarily go barging into, somebody else's
first contact day.
Yeah. So she's left with Frontier Day and finds
some
information.
Partners.
And we get another callback here that Red Lady involves the dedication of a red statue that is of Rachel Garrett, who, as we know, was the captain of Enterprise C.
All right. I thought it had to do with the Red Angel from Discovery, but
no.
By the way,
you think so?
By the way, there was a clue, I think, to who the handler is.
I think I know who the handler is.
All right, we'll say it at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Worf.
Worf.
Lore.
I think it's Worf.
It's because some of the words that said the handler said, "You are a warrior." Was talking.
I think
who uses the word warrior.
Well, I think it was Worf because we see a shot in the trailer where he's now where she is and they're fighting.
Yeah.
I figure somehow he knows where she is.
Yeah.
Because he's the handler and then has gone there to confront her about something.
Right. Well, they used the word warrior and I went, okay, I mean, that's a clue. Nobody on the show uses, except unless you're a Klingon. And yes, I'm familiar with the footage that you're talking about. So I think, yes, I believe those two things lead me to think that it's Worf.
Okay.
You think it's,
now
you think
we
it's
get-
lore? Why do you
we
think it's
cut
lore?
to- I don't know. He's a bad guy.
Well,
It's
fair enough.
Barkley. Barkley.
It's Laura impersonating Worf. So we get done with that scene and we cut to the bunk scene. And Picard is saying, this is utterly humiliating.
Mhm.
And it's Picard on the bottom bunk, Riker on the top
That
bunk.
was hilarious.
I
Yeah.
don't know. It kind of reminds me of my cadet days, but I don't remember having to pee so much.
Yeah, get up to peace. Yeah. It's
Like,
like, oh,
wow. Way of throwing the old man humor there, Jonathan. It's too real. It's too real.
Too real. It's too real, Roy.
So
but they feel like they're stuck now. We get
What
another.
are we going to do? Well, they get called to not astrophysics. Where was it that Annika summoned them? And
Well, it's at the end of the scene because we get it. Picard again mentioned the fact that no one has heard from Beverly in
20 years.
20 years, and
Just cut everybody off.
in the earlier scene, the scene in the bar where they're discussing this stuff, Riker says, "Why would she do that?" And Picard immediately changes the subject.
No, but I don't know.
He says, "Well, we need to get to this place." And I feel like, okay, that was something interesting.
Picard goes, squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much.
Annika summons them and says, "What the hell are you two doing here?"
Which
she
Riker
can see
goes,
through their
"Hey,
room.
hey, what's all this?"
Yeah,
And she says, "That's not how we talk to superior officers. That's how we talk to a friend." And
right.
Picard
So-
is duly called out.
Mhm.
And he tells her what's going on, and we discover that she is not happy with her Starfleet career,
She is pretty miserable with
and
what has happened.
says words to the effect, I don't understand why I have to basically sit here and take all the crap, take orders, and not be happy. And Picard leans in and goes, "When you find the answer to that question, let me know." Like, whoa,
Right.
that was a great response, because
Oh yeah.
he's a bit renegade when the need calls. He disobeys the prime, not necessarily the prime directive. He was probably one of the most strongest advocates for the prime directive and when not to cross that line.
Although
But
he did cross it at times, but
yeah, not as often as some others might have done.
now, do you guys also think there's a bit of foreshadowing here? Because one of the things that Annika/7 says in the scene is, "I thought I could one day inspire people to follow me, even if it's dangerous, like the way you did." And I've got a feeling we're going to see that development in 7 over the course of these 10 episodes.
I think so.
I
Yeah,
just have that feeling.
well, after what she did, she's not long for a Starfleet career anyway, because she disobeyed the captain's orders and took them to the Righton system.
Mhm.
And gave them a shuttlecraft. And then the captain wakes up from his nap and goes, "Where the heck are we? Oh boy."
I'm not in control of my ship anymore.
And as they're leaving, as
Sound just like
Riker
you,
and
didn't I?
Picard are making an illegal exit on a shuttlecraft,
Yeah.
Riker says, "I like that 7."
Yeah.
Quickly, we have we'll see if this will all fit on the screen at once.
Yep.
There we go. It's from Melissa saying, "You haven't gotten to the end credits yet, but my guess is that Lore and Moriarty were among the things stolen from the Daystrom Institute as shown on the L cars."
Could be.
Ooh, could be.
Could indeed be. We will find out as time goes, but if you get the credit, if that's
You called it,
what
Melissa. You called
That's
it.
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think that Moriarty was in the Daystrom Institute.
He
Well,
was
he's
in
in
that cube.
he's in that box now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
box thing.
That
Oh,
box could be anywhere.
and last we saw, that was on Picard's desk, which could have gone
Well-
down in the crash. I don't know.
Well, everything else survived the crash, so why not that?
The big painting. Yeah. That's right.
The flute,
fish,
the album, everything.
Fish in the aquarium,
fish,
they're
yeah.
fine. No fish were harmed in the making of Generations. All right. So cut back to Rafi. She's speeding towards Frontier Day. and she's trying to hail District 7, which is nowhere near District 9. That's a different movie.
It is. It is.
And nobody's responding. Nobody's
Yeah, I
responding.
don't
Hey,
understand
I
why
think
nobody's responding.
you
That
might
part.
have a terrorist attack coming. And just as she says that, what looks like some kind of wait, let me rephrase that. Some sort of transport
Very good.
beam
Right, some sort of.
encircles Apple headquarters, whatever the circular building is, and it falls into kind of like a pile of rubble / into a hole. Then another portal opens up in the sky and dumps the rubble next door.
Well, we've seen the first part of that in the trailer.
Yes, right.
And then all of a sudden I was like, whoa, it's actually dropping.
So that's where, I thought of it like the game Portal,
yes,
where it disappears from here and then reappears, above where it was previously.
Yeah, I was ready for it to go.
Decks have a
shunk,
poke
shunk,
on that
shunk,
also,
shunk, shunk.
where they
What's
were.
that?
Didn't Lower Decks have a mention or of Portal as well?
I think they did. I think they did.
Or they stuck their arm in over here and it comes in the ceiling or something. I forgot what that was, but
So it's an interesting technique. I feel like I'm not quite sure what the benefit is if you can crush the thing you need to crush. Why do you need to drop something on it to crush? It's
be very handy in a building demolition. You could
I
just
think they're making a
crush the
point.
building and
Well-
dispose of the crushed rubble over there. You wouldn't have to get
So show
backhoes and bulldozers. To
Well,
take
they're
that.
making a point, but
Show
my
of
question
force.
is, what was the
Yeah.
point? I mean, because the show of force is saying, look, we can destroy the building. Okay,
Well,
great.
You
And we can
destroy even-
also
destroy
instead
more
of-
stuff.
Well, instead of then going to the second spot and doing something, we'll just dump stuff. It just, I felt like, why?
2 destructions for the price of 1. You got to dump your garbage
Well,
somewhere.
I thought, they could just destroy the building, but to actually eradicate the survivors, they would drop it. So,
But would you? I mean, if you're opening that second portal, just open it on the ground and take that same area out by doing the thing you did to the first thing.
That's not how it
so-
works.
Yeah.
I guess.
yeah,
That-
some,
they only
it's
had
some
time
sort
to-
of imagination.
This is how version 1 of the software works. They only had 6 weeks to get that algorithm working.
I see. They didn't get a chance to test it with the
We
actual
asked
users
that
first.
feature be put into the initial release.
Okay.
They said, no, wait for version 2. And
Okay,
then we can charge for that feature.
I see. It's a
Right.
subscription weapon. Is that what you're saying? I understand.
Exactly.
Description. Oh boy.
We're throwing a little bit of today's modern culture at the show.
Now she was calling out to District 7. I am assuming, if I'm correct, I'm assuming we're at Earth again, and that's the Golden Gate Bridge off in the distance in that
I
shot.
thought so.
I thought so. The Twin Peaks was in there. So
All right.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I'm once again, now they had a throwaway, what was kind of like a throwaway line in the shots with the Titan when Picard and Riker are talking, that the fleet is going to disperse to go through maneuvers ahead of Frontier Day. Because I'm thinking, once again, something's able to show up on Earth with like nothing around.
Yeah.
Here he goes
Hey,
again, Craig.
Including the La Serena that's just kind of like whoosh.
Look, think of all those past Star Trek villains that wasted their time trying to get the planetary defense codes.
Didn't need
I
him.
think-
Yeah, I was gonna say, waste of time, guys. You just go there. There's never a ship there.
yeah.
Don't worry about it.
They're not watching the door.
You can download the security codes. It's publicly available.
It's on the internet.
So the weapon is
We
very
got our
much
public key and our private key mixed up. Oops.
the weapon to me is a very much a shock and awe thing. I just kind of like go after shock and awe, I go, huh? That's all.
Yeah.
And you're in awe.
So we see the building get destroyed. We're back with Riker and Picard. And Jean-Luc says, are you enjoying this? Of course not. Are you?
Yeah.
So they're having fun on the shuttle. They are heading towards Beverly's ship, which they dock, they board. They're checking out the phaser fire that was going on and the
And they'd sensed
ashes on the floor.
they'd sensed 2 life forms. It was, of course, it's always hard to read the sensors because you're in a nebula. So, we have that. There's a trope right there. I think also 7 says the same thing about, well, there's a ship there, but the nebula is causing interference and we can't quite exactly. But what's interesting is that they can identify one of them because I don't know, have they used this technique before? Picard enters Beverly's, essentially her biosignatures that they can then scan for. And I thought,
Yeah.
well, they should really use that technique a lot more because that seems like a helpful thing to be doing.
Yeah.
But they find 2 life signs and they don't know who the other one is. Is it friend or foe? They have no idea.
Yep. And they get to the bridge. Was she on the bridge in that capsule?
Well,
thing?
Picard said he was headed to the bridge.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure.
But when they dock the ship, now tell me what you think. Again, here he goes. He's going off again. Why is it all, this is all at the end of the show, but talk about bizarre places to
For the-
dock your
for the
shuttle,
shuttle,
on a
yeah.
ship, exterior with the the docking ring that comes out rather than a shuttle bay like you see on every other ship. And I'm thinking there's got to be a reason for that. And we find out in the clip for next week why there's a reason for that. So it can get lost and blown off and strand them there. That's
Right.
why. Otherwise it would be inside the ship and the ship would have to get destroyed for that to happen. But it's just like calling out, hey, look at this. This is
It's
thing.
different. Yeah. Here's a design you've never seen before because we need it for the storyline.
All right. Rant over. Back to
Okay.
back to the episode.
Yeah. ran over.
They discovered Beverly's in her refrigerator, apparently
Stasis.
Yep. It's Beverly On
waiting
Ice.
for Futurama to kick in.
The Beverly Sickle.
Welcome to the future. Shut up, Chad. Anyway,
Yeah.
and Riker is approached. They were separated because Jean-Luc went on ahead. Riker, he
Never a good idea.
ambushed from behind with someone with a phaser, and Jean-Luc, being the diplomat that he is, says, "Wait a minute, controls are on the outside of this, which means somebody who cared for her put her there and set
Now-
the controls."
And I think you're referring to as Dixon Hillside.
That's right.
Hey, I noticed the controls are on the outside. Right.
Elementary, dear Watson.
Yeah.
Oh wait, wrong one.
Yeah, this is wrong. Yeah, we'll come to that later.
He goes.
So the guy
The
with his
controls are on
phaser-
the outside.
the guy with the phaser to Riker's head lowers his weapon, and Riker just belts him with an elbow across the face anyway.
I think it's because you to me this was like a quasi reference in that you've got a character's son, David, who when there's a first meeting, there's a fight.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Mhm.
So that's like, to me, that's like almost an Easter egg kind of
And
reference.
not a very good one. Well, one of them wasn't a very good fighter.
Yeah. Back to Khan. Yeah.
Could be. And
Well, we find out that this ship has been pursued, and apparently the Crushers have been trying to evade.
we discover he says, "Who are you?" "I'm her son." We don't know a name yet.
Well, we find out that his second episode. So this is Jack Crusher,
Named after her former husband.
Yeah. So,
Or it's a time loop thing. We don't know.
oh God,
I'm my own father.
No, don't do that to us. Don't do that to us. That would just be.
And then they're being
It would be
hunted.
weird. Yet, why do I think that could be a thing?
Right.
Or the 20-year cutoff was when she discovered she was pregnant with Jean-Luc's.
Yeah. I'm out of
Okay.
here.
That's where we might be going. Yeah, he's an abandonment father. Great
Well-
job, Jean-Luc.
Yeah, that's kind of a Carol Marcus, Captain Kirk kind of thing going on.
Could
there.
be. So the ship comes into the nebula because they're being pursued,
Mm-hmm.
which has kind of this scimitar / Nero ship, with the forward prongs.
Right. Not as many
like-
points as on Nero's ship, but
Good point.
Ba-doom.
4 of them. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And that's where we're left.
We are. But
And
we
then you hear
do.
the first contact music rolls.
Right. We have the credit sequence is at the end, and we're panning across all of the L cars on the bridge of the Titan.
Trying to read as much as we possibly
Yeah.
can of whatever's in
Hey,
focus.
And I really like the color schemes on the Elcar's interface here. I think it looks
And
really
the Okuda,
good.
the Okudas were involved, I believe, with it this time around. So
Yes, they were.
these
Yeah.
are Okudagrams that we're getting here.
Yay.
Yeah, there's things that you can see on there that you already know are things because there were things that were in this episode, and I feel like this is the same thing we get now in the opening credits of a lot of the in all of the live action
Mhm.
Treks. You get imagery or wording or some sort of hints about things that are going to be going on throughout the season, and this is jam packed with stuff. Some of it is probably red herrings, and some of it is just L cars, but some of it are definitely things that have happened, are happening, or will be happening. The
Mhm.
one image that I have
Mhm.
on here, I think that is the ship that we just saw
Yeah.
coming into the scene. That's we see the profile of it. Yeah, so we got to go through those with a fine tooth comb. I'm sure by the time we're done recording, it'll be all
The
over the
internet will
internet. A
have done it
complete
for us.
breakdown of all of this
Yep.
stuff.
Oh yeah.
And when the credits are done, there was a closing caption that said "For Annie."
Mhm.
Do we know what that was all about?
Isn't that
Oh, yes.
the woman
Annie-
who
Annie
passed
Weston?
away? Right.
Yes,
Who
you're
was
right.
the Borg
You're
queen?
right.
Yes.
Yep. I slipped my mind. Again, I was thinking of Alison Pill.
So all in all, it was an interesting shot. Being 10 episodes long, we don't get a lot other than a lot of setup
Yeah.
in this episode. The one thing I thought that we got that was important to get was a demonstration of this weapon.
That and Beverly's skills now.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a story there. Well, I guess the story would be if they've been having to avoid these people for so long, she's probably had to been doing this an awful lot.
Yeah.
But why in particular they're pursuing Beverly and her son is a question we don't have an answer to.
That's
We
true.
have officially spent longer on the recap than the show was long, and it's a good thing this wasn't a 2-episode episode of The Topic is
You're
Trash.
right.
Indeed,
Hey.
indeed. Well, we will once I think we're up to speed and we have all the now that I think hopefully all the threads are moving.
Hey, by the
we
way,
should be able to shortcut that a bit.
there was one thing that neither of you guys pointed out.
Oh, go on.
This show has like 12 executive producers.
Well, they did you notice the opening credits for Strange New Worlds? Go back and take a look at that one.
Yeah. It was like
Essentially-
1, 2. I quit counting. I was like, what? Every time a name would pop up, a producer, executive producer.
It's a Hollywood thing. It
Yeah.
gives you status and it also can give you money and extra
Sure.
and residuals and that type of stuff. So
Oh,
if-
well, we should upgrade this show from 1 to 3 executive producers.
Hey, I think you're just naming our Patreon tiers in the future.
well, okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
You want to be a producer, executive producer?
So we will forego our Warp Speed Roundtable, but we do want to rate the episode. And on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you like for a scale of 1 to 10?
Crusher Circles.
Crusher Sickles. Okay, well, that's hard to say.
I know.
All right, since you came up with it, Kreg,
Right.
you start us off.
I think it was for a start off, and you got to introduce a lot of stuff. I thought it was pretty good. I'll give it an 8.5.
Okay. I am going to go a bit lower because I felt like there were some flaws here. I agree. We had this conversation about the fact that the Riker Picard stuff might have been played a bit strong. I also, although it's always good to, have fan service, I am concerned that if we go too long and too heavy into the referencing too much of the time, it can become distracting. And I felt like it was borderline for me there. And it kind of took me out sometimes because I would pay attention to the music rather than the scene or
Well, true. Yeah.
that type of thing. So I'm going to give it I guess I'll give it a 7.5.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you, Chuck?
I'm going to go with an 8.5. I thought, the cinematic quality, the production, everything that I mentioned at the beginning was top notch. And that held up for the Riker Picard banter back and forth. It held up for the couple of questions like, when you go to warp, do ships normally fall off? There were a couple of holes, which is why it's an 8.5 and not a 9 or a 9.5. But
Right.
I thought, it was good to see a lot of the actors back in play. It was we were set up with a lot of information. Like you said, we saw the weapon, which is more than we got out of a whole season of Discovery. Like what happened? What happened? We don't know. We're
Right.
still trying to find it. So I appreciate that. So I'm going with an 8.5 also.
Okay, wait a minute. We saw the DMA destroy Booker's homeworld in the first episode, didn't we?
We did. We didn't know. Was it the sphere? What was the Red Angel chasing around?
Oh, that was season 2.
Yeah, that was season 2. That took forever.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Discovery likes to
It was
draw
long enough
things
for you to
out.
think it went over
That's right.
three
It carried
seasons.
over into the 3rd season. That's how long it.
Well,
long it
I
was.
remember watching the end of season 1 recently, and I went, okay, so they came back and they realized the Klingons were winning the war. Then what happened? Oh yeah, the Red Angel shows up. Wait, how does that solve the war?
Squirrel. Yeah,
So,
there we go.
anyway, I've got to go watch season 2 again.
Right.
I lost a few
Squirrel.
facts along the way, but we done.
We're done. So we will cover our Warp Speed Roundtable next time around, as well as any responses we get to the one we had from last time. If you want to comment on that as well, we were asking, can you think of inventive and unique new ways to destroy the new Enterprise that we're going to be seeing in Picard, Enterprise F? So come up with some unique and innovative way to destroy that ship, and we will get those answers and then ask the new question next time around.
I say we put sugar in the gas tank.
That could
Banana in the tailpipe.
Yeah.
And a reminder that we will not be back in 2 weeks because Chuck and Kreg are going on the Star Trek cruise, and then some other stuff is happening after that. So we will be recording again on March 9th, and the episode will be out on March 10th. We will cover 3 episodes
Oh,
of
we're gonna have to keep them tight.
Picard.
Otherwise, we're
All
gonna
right.
have like a 6-hour episode.
Indeed. Time to refill the dilithium chamber and try to warp on out of here. You can find me, Clinton, at Comedy Forecast, all one word with the number 4.com. And who speaks for you guys?
I will. So you can find Chuck and I over at Technorama, and just search for Technorama Podcast in Google, and you'll find us. You'll find all the places we are at. So there you go.
Okay. And a reminder that we do live stream when we do this recording. We put out a notification on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. It's usually at 9:30 Eastern.
You
on
are
Thursday.
in error.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. This is correct. So we thank you to the people that are watching us live this evening, and we invite you to join us as well to check out the show as we're doing it. But for now, time to hit the theme, boys. If you like the show, sure to be tell a friend. Sure to be tell a friend. Sure, why not? And subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'll buy that for $1. We love to hear from you as well. Follow us on Twitter at The Topic is Trek. Visit our Facebook page or visit thetopicistrek.com. Until next time, on behalf of Chuck, Kreg, and myself, I'm Mumblemouth Clinton saying thanking you for listening. And as we always say here on The Topic is Trek, don't put on the red shirt.
Oh,
Craig did not
crap.
get the memo. Yeah. You okay, Craig? You still with us? You're not dead, are you?
No.
Okay.
I stopped it right before the no.
Oh,
And the listeners are just gonna have to wonder.
wait till next episode.
What
when?
did you say? Beaming in to join me or joining to?
I don't know. Whatever it
That was
was. It
great.
like
What do you normally say? And beaming in to
beaming
join
in to
me.
join me.
I think he
That's
said
what it was.
Jim-
You said and joining in to beam me. We
I
gotta
think he-
write that down. That
I
was
think he was
quality,
saying
Rick.
Jim Beam. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
that's what I was having. We got a couple of messages here.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us live.
Thank you, Valencia.
Oh, now I got control on my screen. What is? Oh no, I don't.
And
I
thank
might
you, listener
reboot, yeah.
Diane.
Under reboot.
and Melissa, who is also here. I don't know if she's still with us or not, but we are going to end the live recording, and we will see you in 3 weeks.
See you. Live
Take
long
care.
and prosper.
We'll see some of you on the cruise. Woohoo!
Maybe. Yeah. Boop, boop.